Hello everyone! Welcome back to another one of John's never-ending list of random things to do. For today's video, I will be working on my 1985 Toyota Celica Supra. So the other day I was driving my Classic around, and I forgot these cars didn't have cup holders. So I ended up stopping at one of my local AutoZones and grabbed one of these for less than $10. A quick look at it, and it looks pretty good from the front side and from the top side. But on the back side, it looks completely hideous. But that doesn't matter, because once you wedge it down in here, it looks pretty good. Now keep in mind this was only a temporary solution. Another solution would be to lift up your armrest and use the inside compartment as your cup holder, as long as you don't have anything in there already. And with those options out of the way, let's see if we can create our own cup holder. As a bracket, I will be using this aluminum sheet. Links for the materials in this video will be linked in the description below. I then drew a schematic. Its outer perimeter is based off of the aluminum sheet, and all of the lines in between are the bending points. Now these two tabs are completely optional. You can choose to have them or not. Here's a quick look at my first prototype with these tabs included. Now I know this drawing is ugly, and it's probably not down to scale, so I redid the drawing using software. All of the measurements you see here are in millimeters. And this is the bracket for the passenger side. And for the driver side, all you have to do is mirror the measurements. And if you can't imagine that, I went ahead and mirrored it for you. So on the left side, we have the schematic for the passenger side, and on the right side, we have the schematic for the driver side. Now go ahead and take those measurements and mark up your aluminum plate. Now would be a good time to pull out your measuring tool or your caliper. To begin, you'll want to start with the two outer lines. All of the other measurements and markings are based off of these two lines. Now you can proceed to make markings for the measurements. Once you're done making the markings, go ahead and connect the dots, and you should end up with something like this. As a reminder, these tabs are completely optional, and you'll see later in this video I didn't use them, but if you do decide to use them, you have to trim off these pieces. And whether you're keeping the tabs on the side or not, these pieces will have to be removed. So using a grinder, or in this case, some shears, cut off this piece. Now don't worry about this part being bent, we can always flatten it later. Now proceed to cut out this tab. Now that we're here, I'll go ahead and use my metal bending tool to see if I can flatten this piece out. So using this tool, you have to use a lot of strength. Now this part doesn't necessarily have to be straight. Once you start making the bends, it is straightened out. To make the bends, we want to start with the innermost lines, then work our way out. I was lucky enough the depth of this tool allowed me to grab this line. Once I did, I proceeded to make the bend. You want to make this bend about 45 degrees. And using a table with a very good edge would really help. So you're starting off with something like this. Then proceed to move on to the next line and bend it about 45 degrees in the opposite direction. It should end up looking like this. For this last line here, you'll want to bend it to a 90 degree. So now the bottom portion of the bracket is done. Let's go ahead and move to the top. But now I've run into an issue. The depth of this tool doesn't allow me to grip the innermost line. In this case, I bent half of it first, and then finished the bend on the other side. The next line also gave me the same issue, so I had to work on one side and then finish off on the other. Now you should have something looking like this. The last few lines work with the depth of this tool, which made it a lot easier. With this line here, you'll want to make just a slight bend. Now this last bend will be above 90 degrees. And this passenger side bracket is complete. At this point, using some alcohol and a microfiber towel, you can remove all your markings. I'd highly advise you mark them on the back side so you know which side is the driver's side and the passenger side. And don't forget to file down the rough edges. Now that the brackets are done, let's look at some options for a cup holder. Most of these items were purchased off of eBay, Amazon, or somewhere online. You could probably find them at your local Walmart, or you can do a Google search for marine cup holders. Now I'll do a quick review on each of these in this order. Starting with number 1, this is plastic, and it looks fairly good. Now turning it to its backside, you'll want to avoid the ones that has these two tabs on the bottom. They are very weak and allows this piece to flop around. Just imagine yourself driving around and having to hear this all the time. Now let's unfold this and see how it looks. This top piece is completely adjustable. It allows you to shrink it and expand. At the smallest setting, it is measured at 2.5 inches. And at the widest, it is measured at 4 inches. The measurement from back to front is roughly 2 3/4. The height of the arm is roughly 3.5 inches. For visual purposes, let's see how a Coke can fits in here. And it fits perfectly. I'll go ahead and place a water bottle in here. Now just imagine if you're driving down an exaggerated rocky road. This cup holder seems to be holding up just fine. So the structure of this cup holder is pretty good, but with the front piece flapping around, I wouldn't recommend this. Now for cup holder number 2, this one is made out of plastic. And looking on the backside, you'll notice one tab on the bottom that's reinforced. So if you're going down those rocky roads, the front piece will not flap around. Now it's time to open this piece up. This top portion is completely adjustable, but it's a little hard to adjust. The standard setting for this is roughly 2 3/4. At the widest setting, it is measured at 4 inches. The measurement from back to front is roughly 2 3/4. And the height of the arm is roughly 3.5 inches. At its standard setting, a Coke can fits in here perfectly. Now let's see how this holds up under load. Now again, imagine yourself going down a rocky road. This cup holder here is holding up pretty good. Now if you're on a budget, this cup holder will work for you. Now we have cup holder number 3. This one is also made out of plastic, but it feels a lot cheaper. To open it, all you have to do is pull this tab. The diameter of this hole is measured at 3 inches. And the base is measured at 2.5 inches. This height is roughly 4 inches. Now it's time for the Coke can test. It fits in here perfectly, but having a better look on the side, you'll see that it doesn't sit on the base perfectly. Things aren't looking too good for this cup holder. A water bottle fits here perfectly, but let's see it under load. That went pretty bad. Although the opening and closing of this cup holder is fairly impressive, I would not recommend it. Here we have cup holder number 4. It is made out of plastic, but it doesn't feel cheap. I found this off of a website making cup holders for a Honda S2000. Its front door is tightly shut and doesn't seem to be flapping around. To open it, all you have to do is grip this piece like so, and everything just unfolds. And to close it, everything folds right back in. Let's have a look at that from another view. Now that's very impressive. This piece right here is a spring-loaded tensioner. It's supposed to keep your drink in place. For the measurement, there are 2 lips on here. We will not be measuring the top lip, but the bottom lip instead. The bottom lip is measured to be 3 1/4. The height is measured to be 1 7/8. For visual, let's see how a Coke can looks in here. And it fits perfectly. Now let's see how it works under load. Again, you're going down a very rocky road. And it seems to be holding up just fine. So overall, if your budget allows it, this is a very good cup holder. Now it's time for cup holder number 5. This one is made out of stainless steel. The front piece doesn't seem to be flapping around. Now let's open this up to see how it looks. So as soon as I opened this, I didn't like this part. These 2 arms are loose, and this can be hazardous while driving. In an attempt to fix the loose arms, I increased the tension on these 2 tabs, but it didn't resolve anything. For measurements, the widest setting here is 3 inches. The smallest setting here is a little over 2 inches. And the height from the base to the arm is roughly 3.5 inches. Now let's perform the Coke can test. You'll see why this can be hazardous while driving. Since the arms aren't spring loaded, every single time you hit the arm, it'll continue to keep going down. You physically have to pull the arms back up. In order for this cup holder to work, your aim has to be perfect. One mistake at hitting the arm and it'll just collapse. Now let's revisit cup holder number 2. If you hit the arms by accident, it spring loads right back up. Now hitting the arm on cup holder number 5 and it just falls down. Now let's see how it works under load. Now going down that rocky road. And it's holding up really good. The stainless steel cup holder is the most expensive I have here, but with the arms loose and not spring loaded, I would not recommend it, unless if it's revised in the future. For the remainder parts of this video, I will be using the stainless steel set since they look the nicest. Once you've chosen a cup holder of your liking, you'll want to align it as best as possible in the middle. Then go ahead and make some markings. Follow that up with the center tap. Then go ahead and drill your hole. Now don't forget to check to see if the holes align perfectly. And everything's looking good. Now if you drill your holes perfectly where your hardware fits in and it doesn't move, then you can skip this step. But if your holes are a little bigger than your hardware, you might want to add some JB weld on the backside. This will ensure the screw will not continuously spin while trying to tighten down the nut on the other side. Go ahead and allow the JB weld to dry, and it's finally time for the installation. For the installation, you have to completely remove the door panel. Now with the door panel off, installing the bracket, you'll want to make sure you're working with the correct bracket. Now you'll want to align this tab here with this trim right here. If you grip in these locations on your trim and pull, you'll notice there's a large enough gap where you can slide something in here. So pull the two panels apart and slide the bottom portion of the bracket in. Once you've reached this part, go ahead and just flip the bracket up. From this point, grip the top portion of the bracket and pull it over the panel. Now you'll want to make sure the alignment is good enough for you. And once you're ready, apply force on the backside to squeeze it down. If you want it to remove it, just work in the reverse order. Now with the bracket finally installed, go ahead and reassemble the door panel. It's finally time to install the cup holder. Place it onto its mounting point like so. Then go ahead and loosely install the nuts. Now go ahead and make the final adjustments to straighten things out. And once you've straightened it out, go ahead and snug down the nuts by hand. Here's a quick look all around. There are no clearance issues. And with that installed, this project is now complete. Since my suspensions are soft, I wasn't able to put these cup holders to the test. But thanks to one of the Facebook Celica Supra members, Justin, who has stiff suspensions, was able to drive down a bumpy road. And here's a quick video of his results. Now when you're using these cup holders, you'll want to make sure no one leaves their drinks here, and then shut your door closed. It might send their drink flying around. If you found this video helpful, go ahead and give me a thumbs up. And if you're not subscribed yet, go ahead and hit subscribe. Thank you for watching, and I will see you guys for the next random project. With the extra materials I had, I was able to make 3 extra bracket sets. Should I do a giveaway or not? Let me know in the comments below.